I have seen the most remarkable, successful, intelligent clientele come through our doors and learn from you. You're taking the entire way that you look at the world and your business, and you're rebuilding it in a new way.
Anything that gave me really big abundance, my mind's like, don't go there. It's dangerous. I got better and better at what I do. But if you get better, you're supposed to get better results faster. We have allowed too many people that really aren't the right people to be trained by Upgrade. We have to be more selective.
I have traveled the world with you. I have ridden in your Ferrari. I have watched your business grow from an impressive, life-changing ecosystem to something that has reached all across the globe. And your marketing has now taken a corner forever. And it has fundamentally shifted, as has your outlook. What the heck happened?
You know, it's actually a rather recent thing. I've realized that marketing is therapy. And it was something that I overlooked for far too long. You were going to say something.
No. I just said, what does that mean? How is marketing therapy? Marketing is the ad I get on Instagram.
I think that in order to really market and reach the souls of the people that are listening or watching, I have to clear my own walls. And so for a long time, I think I ignored marketing and just let referrals be the main, thing that draws people. But even in our referrals, we never optimized it. It was because I was too afraid to look at my own walls. And as much as I created Upgrade to help other people, also it was there to help myself. But it's one of those dilemmas that oftentimes helping others is much easier for a number of reasons, and one of which is so that you don't have to look at the problems within yourself. Because when you help other people, guess what? You can just solve other people's problem and you feel good, but you're not solving the problem within yourself. But it's okay because you're solving other people's problems.
Well, what was the compounding effect of delaying that understanding? What did that look like? Because it clearly brought you to a point where you said, I've been putting off solving my own problems for a long time.
Oh man, everything. Feels like reality is just slapping you in the face. You begin to look at your relationships, not just romantic relationships, but family relationships. There are things that you're just ignoring. It's just like that, those walls. And even if you notice they're there, you're trying to avoid them. And or in business, there are things that you know you need to fix, but you're just like, I don't want to look at that. To even like mails that arrived in the mailbox, and I'm like, I don't want to look at that. So it created some sort of avoidance strategy that was both conscious and unconscious. And they compound over the years, Now, I'm not some lazy ass that's just sit at home and do nothing. Like I am working, and I'm actively working certain things to improve the business. But if I don't resolve those walls, don't get rid of those walls, everything I do would just be busy work. And it becomes more and more obvious because yes, surely I got better and better at what I do. But if you get better, you're supposed to get better results faster. So if you ever notice that you're getting better, having more experience, and you're not getting faster in your own life, there's something you're hiding from.
How did you find this?
For me, I'm very, very blessed to have wonderful clients and friends, especially the clients that have become friends. There are two things. You observe their problems, and you need to be willing to ask yourself and say, do I have that problem? Because oftentimes you help someone, even if you're not in our line of work, in consulting or in training and coaching, even if you're not in that, you look at other people's problems, you're like, I don't have that, that's not me. But the fact that they show up in my reality, I need to be willing to look at it and say, maybe I have that problem. Or maybe there's something I need to learn from this, at least. Secondly is that you will actually have some clients and friends that become like family. And they'll just call you out. Right? They'll just tell you, hey, you've got this problem. I've been observing you, especially if they're business experts. And then you're like, yeah, you're right. And it resonates. And oftentimes, the first time you hear it or feel it, you might be like, I want to run away. Just kind of like a human thing. A lot of people don't want to face it. But that's the switch you have to flip, that you're like, no, I'm going to face it now. and you have to prepare yourself to face it. So I think that what really got me to it is that I've been observing clients having the same pattern across the board of some of the problems I had. And then I noticed that my personal life in some areas slowed down, plateaued. I think the last time I really felt that was before I started Upgrade, when my life plateaued. And I was like, I need to really understand what I want. And when I was asked what I wanted, I was like, I want to find the one. That was when I started to sit down and design. It kickstarted the whole journey. And I think I'm experiencing the beginning point of that again. Of course, it's a completely different phase of my life now. But I feel that freshness. Even 10 years ago, I don't think I felt that liberated when I found what I wanted. I think last time I felt this liberated or this free, 5 years old. Yeah.
The first training I ever attended of yours, I was a client. Within 3 hours of the training starting, someone stood up in the back and said, "That's it. This is what I needed to hear. I'm buying the jet." And he left the room. That was my introduction to your events. It's like, what room am I in? That guy in the back, what did you just say? You just convinced him now he's going to go get the Gulfstream. I was like, what is this? And then over the next several years of us putting on events together, working together, creating videos, courses, content all over the world, I have seen the most remarkable, successful, intelligent clientele come through our doors and learn from you. Now, why am I saying that? Because you, the person that has been in this position, instructing all of these astonishing people, you're now saying that you're taking the entire way that you look at the world and your business and your inner world, and you're almost not raising it to the ground, but rebuilding it in a new way. Is that fair to say? And what is that even like?
Yeah, everything's getting restructured. Everything. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
I wanted you to make sure.
No. I want to understand what does that even look like? Because everyone that has been, learning from you for all these years, they're now hearing that the person that has guided them to all of these doors is now going, I myself am finding a new one, which reads as a couple things. One, of course, because if you ever stop learning, then you've kind of missed the whole point. So there's a humility in saying, yeah, like I'm finding a new door, but it's also like it's the unknown, and the unknown is both the opportunity and can be the anxiety until it becomes the opportunity. So, I mean, just giving us a lens on what you're looking at, starting with this new reinvigorated lens on you and Upgrade.
Yeah, I can actually put it really simply. In the beginning, before I built Upgrade, I had nothing to lose. And I was willing to go all in, was willing to invest money I didn't have. I was willing to do things that I just had never done before, because worst case scenario, I was already there. I was already at the bottom. So everything that could have happened would have just been good things, would have been better. But after you progress and progress and progress, and you acquire more assets, you acquire more knowledge and more skills, and you become this perceived person, whether in my own eyes or other people's eyes, the mind tries to protect itself. Because it's like, well, I have too much to lose. If I create so much change, I wouldn't be the same person. Even though that may be needed, what I have grown accustomed to, familiar with, even if it's painful, the risk is too high. So at that point, you're facing this path, these two paths. The first path is I just keep going and maybe slowly churning, changing, whatever, and hopefully it works out. Even though you know there are some things that you need to face, but you're like, if I face it, there's too much restructuring, too much change. I don't know if my nervous system wants that. I'm comfortable. But the other path is, it's not necessarily like burning everything down, not necessarily that. It's just that, am I willing to precisely look at the things that are the most uncomfortable to look at? The things that I really don't want to deal with, the things that over the last 10 years I've seen that actually are the problems, the real root cause of all the problems from my entire life before and now. Do I want to face it? Do I want to address it? There's so much unknown, like you said. Sure, we could design it. That being said, the discomfort of, wow. Because previously there was almost like this unconscious layer that you just don't touch. just leave it be because it's like, it's how it is. But you know it's not good enough, or you know it's actually bad for you. But you're like, no, I don't want to touch it because it's too vulnerable, too much insecurity down there, too many problems that you don't want to face. It would just be like a wrecking ball. It would just be like so much to deal with, so much stress neurologically and in all fronts. You just fantasize that reality would get better without touching that layer. But then you wake up and you're like, no, that's not the life I designed. This is the turning point. This is the moment where, yeah, I practice what I preach, yet this is a layer I didn't want to practice where I preach. Selectively, right? Yeah, it's unconscious, but everyone has that choice. Like you'll see people that have trained with us, they'll change everything, but then maybe there's one thing or one layer. They're like, no, I don't want to change that.
Interesting.
And I've seen that. So that's the pattern I was talking about that I observe. I'm like, people are willing to change all these things, but they won't change that one layer or one area of their life. What's the purpose of holding on to that? Why are they holding on to that? What sort of gain? And something as simple as familiarity could be the gain. Now, I uncovered something really wild. I have a friend, a dear friend. He's like, I don't think you're comfortable holding on too much money. Having a high balance in your checking account scares you. At first, I wanted to rebuttal that. I was like, that's ridiculous. Why would I? And then I was like, shit, he's right. And that's because of the trauma that my mother and her family never faced. They had too much cash, and it was taken during a time, I think it was right around World War II. It's just taken. Back then it was like paper cash. You have like a note. I don't know how it works all the way, but essentially this paper was robbed from them and all of their assets was gone. We're talking about in today's money, like millions and millions of dollars back in the 40s-ish, right?
Sure.
And that's not easy for a family to go through. And then what happened was my mother's grandfather, after he was robbed, his brother was killed as a ransom. That's why they took the money. They wanted more money. They killed the brother. They like tied these rocks to his feet and threw him into the water. And then his wife sold everything. They were living a cush life. They sold everything for him to survive and then leave. And then when he left, it was too traumatic. He never came back. And he started a different family in a different country. So my mom's grandmother had to raise her 4 or 5 kids by herself as a single mom, from rich to nothing, had no resources, nothing, and no husband anymore. So that trauma of having so much was all taken away, was imprinted in my family. Now, I picked it up the most because I think my mother also repeatedly told that story to me. So my friend, when he said, you're afraid of having too much balance. Yeah, I should have X amount of dollars saved up, X amount of a really decent chunk of dollars saved up had I not have that issue. But no, I didn't. Part of it, maybe you could say it's confidence because I know I can make it.
Well, and assets, you were able to put a lot of it into assets and not necessarily have it be liquid.
Right. That being said, I feel like I could have even more assets, even more cash and all the things. And the point isn't so much whether I have whatever amount or not. The point is my neurology was so comfortable with lack. Anything that gave me really big abundance, my mind's like, don't go there. It's dangerous. Just like some people grew up in a traumatizing household, always fights, always anger, always maybe there's multiple divorces. Them having a good, normal, healthy relationship is not normal. And so their neurology is not regulated to that. And now they can work on it and become good with it. That being said, they couldn't trust it. It takes time. And so the biggest thing that I need to do, and it's not even about the money, it's the comfort in abundance. And that's why I didn't want to do marketing. Because I knew if the truth got out, and I'm speaking genuinely, if the truth actually got out about what we were doing, we would have too much abundance. People will hire us left and right. And I couldn't possibly have the situation that my neurology was used to. Therefore, my friend said, I think you're uncomfortable with having too high of a balance. That's why I avoided marketing. And as crazy as that sounds, that is why. That's what I found out.
In other words, there are levels to this. It's not a one-time box to be checked, but like value levels. Apparently, you can also have to achieve different increments of accepting that abundance. Because one could also argue you have a beautiful home, a beautiful family, a couple great cars, compared to someone else who has their whole life never once allowed themselves to have any degree of abundance. They'd look at you and say, well, I can't believe you're saying that. You've obviously allowed it into your life, but you're saying I've discovered an upper limit and another ceiling that was imposed on me. And the whole time I was unconsciously unaware of it.
Oh man, I wouldn't even call it a ceiling. It's a bottom that keeps pulling me back.
Okay.
Yeah. The ceiling is not there, but the bottom keeps anchoring me there. And I know it could be very similar. For me, it's this bottom of, if I'm there, I'm comfortable, I'm safe. If I stay at the bottom, because I wouldn't draw attention, marketing in and of itself will draw attention. And so when I do, let's say in the past podcasts, I wouldn't go all the way, mentally, emotionally, or any act of promoting, I wouldn't go all the way. And sure, we've gotten pretty good at making money over the years. But are there people that I don't want to make money with or from? Yeah. Yeah, because I was asked this question just the other day. Someone asked me, brilliant people, they asked me a very important question, simple yet important. If you have all the money in the world, or money is no concern whatsoever, no bills, no payroll's not a problem, and no problem whatsoever. Because most people live that Instagram life. They pretend to live that Instagram life because that's only like maybe 0.1%. But like most people try to look like they are other people on Instagram, right? If you have all the money, everything's taken care of, are there things you wouldn't do? I'm like, yeah, there are clients that I wouldn't talk to. Like people that I wouldn't take on as clients, right? There are people I just simply wouldn't even interact with. The paradox is, some say everyone is a mirror, right? We've taught that. That being said, if I have all the money in the world, if I were to interact with those people, it would be not because of money. It'd be like because I want to, help them or whatever. But you know that feeling where you're like, okay, payroll's coming and I have to invest into this project that will perpetuate the business or whatever. I need to collect. Clients can feel it. They're like, they don't really want to work with me, but they need my money and I need their help. It's already not a good start. Those who are in our VIP program, I love working with them. Like I couldn't break my own boundary on that. But like if someone's in our VIP program, I would love to work with them.
Mm.
So they asked me, then would you just basically work with your VIP clients? I'm like, yeah. And some of the Upgrade World clients. I mean, there are other clients in other levels that I love too. But I would just have one group that I work with. And the rest would be mostly automated and we do pure group stuff because I still want to help. They're like, and you would be much happier. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, dang, it's so simple. But I haven't even let myself get there. Because to get there, I would have to think about marketing. And to think about marketing would mean if I come up with a solution, then I become possibly famous, I know it may seem conceited to think that, but I know we got good stuff. So if we really properly, clearly communicate what we do, I think we would draw too many people in my old way of thinking.
Okay. There it is.
So I wanted to avoid that. And not until they helped me resolve this. And these are, I recently got to spend some time with two of the world's most experienced, most incredible, knowledgeable marketers. They don't even like it if I call them like true masters, but they're really good.
They're unbelievable.
Yes.
Absolute league of their own.
They asked me, like, if you could do anything, what would you do if money's no object? I ask people that question all the time.
Yes.
But they didn't let me stop answering. That's the difference. They didn't ask once. And I answered once. They're like, no, that's not good enough of an answer. What is it? Like, what would you do? That's not the answer. I'm like, how do they know this? They're so acutely aware that my first layer was not the answer. They dug multiple layers down. Finally, they reached that layer that I didn't want to touch. They're like, there's the answer. Now we get it. And I'm like, wow, I didn't go deep enough. I was too busy using the excuse of helping other people. So I didn't have to deal with my own stuff. If I were to go all in on marketing, I would have to touch that layer because it would make me too much money. And I was avoiding it the whole time.
How does one who is able to wow a room, I mean, I've seen you literally leave a room of 1,000 people speechless, by inviting them to understand that they deserve more than they currently think, a room full of very successful people, mind you, and inviting them to go, you do have a floor that you are operating from because you still somewhere believe that you don't deserve as much as you actually deserve. You've been able to teach that. And maybe the duality in that is that people that do teach these things are often the ones that need to learn it the most.
I wouldn't agree with that fully. I think that I was onto something and I was able to help other people. And oftentimes when you observe someone else, it's easier to see it clearly. And so it's not that I need it the most. I think that I definitely, in my world, my own world, I needed the most, right? But in the world in general, I would think that I need it just as much as anyone else. So it's not like more or less.
Sure.
But it's the ability to look within yourself from the first person perspective. All of the teachers I've learned from, none of them have been able to crack that code to be able to fully work on oneself. My opinion is that humans need other people to show them the mirror, to hold it up and be like, your makeup is messed up today. Your mascara is all over the place and you forgot to shave that spot and you didn't wipe off your burger, like whatever, right? If we don't have that mirror, we can try to do what we do, but you don't have the feedback. It's so much easier for you to sit here and be like, hey, William, I observed this about you. I'm like, oh, because here's why. Scientifically, and this part we will get into, we only pick up 120 something bits of information per second. There's millions, tens of millions of bits of information that hit our nervous system every second. How do we select what to focus on, right? But when someone else observes you, they can see you. They can see you differently, and they pick up a different 120 something bits. And that is the blind spot. Because anything outside of the 120 something bits, you can classify them as blind spots. So people who teach this, it's not that we couldn't find it, but it is that we couldn't find it because it's in our blind spot. Now, if I meditate for the next 100 years in a cave, maybe I'll find it. But there's no telling of when. But here's why I brought this up, the whole subject up. If I couldn't find something, I just go find someone who's used to finding it. Their pattern recognition is exactly what I need. So by hiring the masters, that's the cheat code. So for someone who's excellent at marketing, or two people that are excellent at marketing, they would be able to see what walls I put up that would not allow me to authentically communicate who I am. I look for them to show me where my filter is missing, because they are literally looking for that every minute. I hope that answers your question.
So it worked because their ability is to understand when marketing is at its best. And if it's short of its best, it's because the person putting the message together has a bunch of blind spots that they're completely oblivious to. Thus is the nature of blind spots. But when the messaging is so airtight, you know that the person coming up with the message is congruent. But at the same time, is there anyone that has 100% congruency on this planet? Doesn't that presuppose perfection? So therefore, if you're not a perfect person, your marketing's always going to be a little bit off.
It's possible. I don't know if there's a way to measure absolute congruency. I think it's the fact that you feel congruent or not so congruent. I think there's a point where if you pass that point, you feel congruent.
Okay.
And there's an infinite scale in there. But that layer that I mentioned earlier that I was hiding from inherently made me incongruent. So why would I market an incongruent message that came from basically ancestral trauma?
Wow.
Yeah, it was eye-opening.
You teach quite a bit as well about what used to be called spiral dynamics. We now call it value levels. Do you believe you're going through a value level ascension?
Yeah, absolutely.
From what to what?
Oh, man. I think the most accurate way would be to take an assessment myself. I haven't done one recently, but if I were to guess, I would say there are still value level 3 stuff left.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Because value level 3 is me against the world. If I don't feel that way, why would I worry about having high number in a checking account.
Basic evolutionary safety. I mean, it seems somewhat
Yeah, if you
reasonable.
master the system and then you master the leverage of the system, that fear goes dramatically down.
I see.
Not saying that risk is completely gone, but the fear of it is gone or could be gone, right? I mean, imagine if you're best friends with all the government officials because you've mastered the system. You're best friends with the banks. You're best friends with the corporations. Somehow someone does that, you're not going to have that problem. Or maybe you're invisible. It's one of the best ways to protect your assets is not being known.
So it all stems from that generational compulsion to protect. So does that mean letting go of that means you no longer worry about it all going away? Because I mean, there's a reasonable world where you go, well, I mean.
No, you get smarter.
Okay.
You get more focus on who you really want to. Because the inherent issue was being inauthentic because that layer was there, right? So part of me was wanting to help more people. Part of me was like, no, don't get too loud, right? Part of me was like, you should help all these people. Part of me is like, I only want to help a certain group. Part of me was like, you know, you can easily do this and this and this and create result. But part of me is like, I don't want to do that for this group of people, right? So there's that conflict internally, which made me not want to market. But at the same time, let's say there's payroll. Let's say there's a bill due. There's something that I got to pay for. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, I need to go do what I don't want to do, right? So the incongruence shows up that way. The inauthenticity show up that way. And so because of that, I didn't get dialed in on, I mean, we're pretty dialed in, but we're not dialed in. If we really look at it from a perspective where it's really scalable, we're not right now doing that because we have allowed too many people that really aren't the right people to be trained by Upgrade.
Well, the mission's to upgrade humanity. So, I mean, certainly that would be inevitable.
Yeah, but the timing of who gets Upgrade when is very important.
Okay.
Who's the most willing participant, ready to go, and have a decent amount of intelligence? Because to be honest, I don't want to train dumb people. And there has been dumb people that we've trained. No matter how you explain it, they don't get it, right? And no judgment. Dumb not meaning they're inherently stupid, meaning they have been unwilling to learn, like me. That layer, they're like, I don't want to touch that layer, right? So by me being willing to face it, I think we're going to have less dumb people joining us. Yeah.
It's a great way of putting that.
We're just going to be more selective. Like, this is not a offensive statement. And if people choose to be offended, that's because they're dumb, right? Like, smart people don't get offended by me saying, I don't want to work with dumb people. So the way I see it is we have to be more selective. There are certain people that should be and needs to be trained now and sooner so that they can create a cascading effect to their community. Because it sounds altruistic to want to upgrade humanity, and it is true. It's genuine. It's a genuine desire. And a lot of it has to do with my nerdy, geeky desire to understand what happens if humanity is truly whole and congruent together and be able to get along with extraterrestrials. And would we be able to exchange technology and knowledge and advance even more? It's out of a lot of curiosity and empathy, because I do care a lot about people. That being said, you couldn't possibly care about everyone all at once. So who do you select that resonate with you? Because I was not being fully authentic, I was allowing to everyone. But from this point onward, Upgrade is going to get way more selective. We haven't announced it yet, and it's not finalized, but eventually we're just going to have one level of training. All of the knowledge will be in one level. Implementation is what people will hire us and pay for more. And we'll maintain our VIP and custom coaching, $150K. We made up the price to $180K. But like the basic level might just be $500 a month. And here's the cool part. People can cancel anytime. Now, here's the thing I learned from these wonderful people that I met with. They said something that I truly agree with. They're like, if someone has to cancel, you don't let them come back for 6 months or 4 months or whatever. And at first I was like, why?
Yeah.
If someone want to pay me again, he's like, no. You don't want to be in a situation where someone can just join you. You need to curate who you let in. You talk about design, right? If someone is non-committal, they join for a couple months, they want to exit, and they want to join again a couple months later, that's a flaky person. You shouldn't let them in for 4 months or 6 months, and you should tell them, go think about your life before you join again. I fully agree. That feels so right. When I heard that, I was like, yeah, you know what? We're going to enforce a policy where, like, for example, Upgrade Self right now, we only let people buy in for 6 months, or for there's an unlimited version they can join for as long as we run the training. We may not keep that either of those levels. We might just do one where it's like $500 a month. Cancel anytime you don't get value or you don't want to stay, right? Which keeps my team accountable for producing amazing content that's life-changing. So people would stay. 500 is cheap, but it's not that cheap, right? But if they get way more than $500 in value, maybe they get $10,000 in value every month, everybody's going to stay. But if they're like, I'm not the right person, well, yeah, go ahead. Don't pay us. We don't want you. In fact, if someone stops using our content, we're just going to kick them out. So we're going through that restructuring. That's a weird thing, right? Because most people have subscriptions. They're like, I hope that they forget.
Sure.
And just keep paying.
Yeah.
No, we're going to actively kick people off the platform if they're not using it. We don't want to get paid from these people. That's not a fair energy exchange. And then if they want to work with us personally, then we'll charge them a shit ton of money. Because if I'm being really authentic, I'm not going to want to see someone without a certain amount because I'm booked. I'm booked to go do my own adventures.
Constantly.
Right?
Yeah.
To spend time with my own family. If I have to take time out to see someone, I'm not willing to do that unless it's the price I set. So we'll likely up the price of like the VIP and the private coaching program in the future, but minimize how easy it is for people to pay for monthly access, and they'll get so much out of it. And so drastic change is coming. Now, does it mean the current clients that are paying more, like they're getting less? No. They're getting, the coaching is what they are getting right now, and the other implementations, that's still gold. And I think that the current clients are actually going to get just as good of a deal. It's just a different structure. So we don't need to get into the business logistics, but I wanted to point out, we are going to prevent certain people from getting in the future. That's a fundamental change in our strategy and philosophy.
Well, people ask me what it was like to go through your curriculum and then being able to make videos and courses with you over so many years, having this space with you. I'd consider among the luckiest people because of my proximity to everything you've been able to teach. And people say, well, what is it? What is it like?
I have to say, It's also one of the best experiences of my life too. Yeah. So I appreciate that myself.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Keep going.
Well, if I said, hey, you had the house you grew up in as a child, and at a certain point, every room, every wall, every hall, you could close your eyes and walk it.
Yeah.
Now imagine that scale, that house, which in this case is a symbol for the mind. What if it's a great big mansion? And in the same way, every room, every hall, you can walk it with your eyes closed. Then one day, you meet someone and says, hey, have you ever looked at that wall over there? For the first time in your life, you see a door that you have somehow walked by 10,000 times and never seen. It's impossible. I know every door in this room. And you walk up to it and you go, okay, well, that's there. What is it? But you notice it's locked. And you go, the whole time this door has been here, it's had a big old lock on it. And not only have I not seen it, but I don't know where the key is. But you, in the training that I've been able to learn from, has then said, you need to look at your hip. And I look down and I notice that there's the key, and it's been there the whole time. And so when I put the key there, I open the door and I discover rooms and rooms in the layout that I already thought I knew. And as a metaphor, I've been able to understand parts of my psyche, parts of my conscious and unconscious behavior, and maybe start to understand that bottommost layer that you're talking about, just bounce against it at least. For the first time, acknowledging it and seeing it and saying, maybe I do need to work on that next. And so if the plan going forward with Upgrade and with the curriculum is to narrow down who gets access, it kind of makes sense because I don't know that everybody's ready for that. It's an uncomfortable process, radically changing yourself. But man, if we've only got one shot at this on this earth, this rock hurling through space, you have to be very particular with who you're giving that time to, because their lives will change and it will be uncomfortable. And not everybody's willing to go through uncomfortable things. I would imagine most of the founders, most of the people in the courses thus far, they are, because they've won, they've crushed, they've built businesses, they've had exits. They are familiar and acquainted with the uncomfortable. But even you, the person who's been teaching and guiding all of us, is able to still find a layer of something that you just weren't ready to approach and begin working through. So I admire you for saying that in such candid enthusiasm. Like, I found another one. I found another layer. I found another problem that I have been walking by for years. I found another door. And I didn't even know. And I thought I found all of them. I mean, all of them.
Oh, man.
Lo and behold, there was another one.
So many. And I know there's so much more too. It's the looking for that final frontier. And I think part of this is a desire to really understand what's the limit of the human psyche.
Okay.
And so continual exploration. But it's also led me to realize all the people that I've had the pleasure of working with has been a great mirror to show me all of the things that I couldn't even have wished that I knew, but I do, right? And so, if anything, it's become an accelerated journey personally for me to grow. And forward in time, looking forward, I'm now interested in getting it even more precise in terms of what kind of feedback. Because look, we all know not all feedback are created equal. So we want great feedback. And therefore, we have to control that environment for the people as well as for myself and my team. So to be able to get that really dialed in, it's like, imagine if someone was, professional drivers, like they're race car drivers. They probably wouldn't have a plumber in the group to give them advice on how to drive better. Maybe if they're Mario brothers, right? But the jokes aside, we want people that can give feedback and directives with perhaps slightly different or even different perspectives, but applied in a certain way, applied in a certain industry, and put that simply, we're getting really specific on industry and the type of people that are in the certain industries. So we will say no to people in the future if they're not in the right industry, and if they don't have the right level of perceived intelligence, if they don't have commitment, like real commitment, and if they're an asshole, all these people are going to kick them out or just not even admit them. So anyway, I will say this.
No. Wow. It's great.
The door metaphor, incredible, because not only do we have these mansions, but we have other houses we haven't explored. And so I've spent so much time exploring other houses, not looking at my own mansion. That's the answer to what you asked me earlier. And so it's time to settle back in and really explore my own.
Yes. Okay. So whatever comes next, now that you've been able to live 1,000 lives and see 1,000 other mansions, understand their doors, their archways, their mysteries, their hidden rooms, you've taken the learnings, looked within and went, I think I'm ready to hit a new level. And what rolls and follows after that is better marketing. So you on the other side of this therapy, I am fascinated to watch what happens next.
Yeah, I think it'll be precise marketing. That's what it'll be. The good news is I don't have to come up with the plan. These experts these people that are really good, they're going to come up with the plan with us. And I'm not going to mention names or anything. They are really special people.
People would be shocked if they knew who it was. It's pretty remarkable.
Thank you. Thank you for spending the time with me.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
I think that call to action for everyone is to really look within. There are 4 questions I would recommend writing down. One is, what do you not want to do that you must do? That's the first one. What do you not want to do that you must do? Second question is, what have you not considered that when you consider it would really up-level your life? What have you not considered that when you do consider it would really up-level your life? Number 3, what have you been avoiding that you know you must face now? What have you been avoiding that you know you must face now? And all of these questions, by the way, really point at similar things, but gives you a different angle of answering them, right? And the final question, what do you really want? If money or expectations or survival or bills or social pressure, none of those exist. If you could just have what you want, what would it be? I think that this would be a set of fun questions for the listener and the viewers to really write down.
And by the way, if you're looking for an incentive to do that, that is the question that you asked me in 2021.
Oh,
I was in a COVID lockdown at Mr. Beast. I was doing all the video directing on the channel. Someone got COVID, started spreading. They said, everybody go to your apartments, lock yourself in the house for 3 days, do not come out. You all remember how it was in that era.
I do.
Well, I came across your content. I got lucky enough to get on a call with you, a discovery call. My application was a little interesting. Oh, well, I work on one of the biggest YouTube channels. You're like, I'll get on a call with that guy. Sure, yeah.
Well, we're friends prior also, so that helps.
That part is true.
Yeah.
And you asked me that one question. You said, man, you're filming all these crazy videos, but have you taken pause and just asked yourself, not what does it Mr. Beast want or the team or the CEO, what is it you want? And I hadn't once. It was operating in such a cause effect, a knee-jerk reaction, reflex, impulse. It was just go, 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 right? That's how most people that are doing well operate. It is wake up, go, get done. But I paused because I had the space to. And I was like, man, what do I want? It's like, I've been renting. I'm like 28, 29. It'd be kind of cool to have a house. And it felt strange. I'm like, I'm waving a magic wand in the air, just aimlessly. Yeah, I don't know, friggin' house, sure. And then 2 days later, we did a video where we were giving houses away, and I ended up getting one of them. Fully furnished house.
And it had something else you wanted that you told me. You said you wanted the PlayStation and a hot tub.
It did have those things.
I was like, what kind of house? You're like, a house with a PlayStation. And
yeah, like a little.
Because you couldn't get one back then, right?
No. Oh, that's right. The supply chain issues.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
You couldn't get one, and you wanted a hot tub.
Yeah.
And what did the house have?
Had a $9,000 hot tub in the backyard. So funny. Laptop, closets full of stuff, 3 fish tanks for some reason. We thought that was hilarious. I'd helped put that house together. And unbeknownst to me, they were planning on throwing me into a game to compete for it. I won it. And I won it because I was finally clear for the first time in at least one thing that I wanted, other than to just, I don't know, survive and get through the next video. It's like, what do I specifically want out of life? If life's a sandbox, if I could hit a button and get whatever it is, what is it? And the house appeared. And with that house, because ultimately I ended up selling it, I was able to pay for my first training to go into your curriculum. And so to those on the fence or those who believe that at this point, anybody that goes, oh, it's too woo-woo, man, you gotta up your game, because life is so much more waiting for you to dictate what'll happen than you think. Life is eagerly waiting for you to start dictating terms. And it's just so funny to me. I put that off for so long. So thank you for helping me dictate the terms of my life. Yeah. And I look forward to seeing the future of Upgrade and all of the curriculum to come.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And the beauty is we've gotten more and more and more, not just evidence of people's success and different stories. I mean, none of the stuff we came up with were out of origins. Many of them were original therapeutic methods have been, published, or they're practiced in certain therapeutic environments, or in I don't want to be diving into all of the details, but some of the stuff came from government. You know what I mean?
Oh,
government stuff.
SRI.
Like that, as well as literally, according to my friend David Morehouse, some of the original techniques that I learned from some of my teachers came from the tools that the government invented to help manage the influence of the population better.
Mm.
But my point in bringing all this up is that when things seem too woo-woo, I think there's actually a whole group out there, a massive group out there that's like, manifest this, you're not manifesting, this is how you manifest. That's definitely, I mean, there's a huge group of people that are woo-woo.
It's cringe.
And yeah, very cringe. Coming from an engineering background, it's like, I'm like anti-woo-woo.
Yeah, it's precision.
And I'm interested now, don't get me wrong, I am interested in like ancient esoteric knowledge. But I wouldn't ever say, hey, this is how you manifest, right? I would say experiment with, whatever. But all of the tools that we teach are aggregated knowledge through careful filtering. And many of them came from, again, science, as well as government research projects and or our own testing in the field. And we are going to be we're going to be writing a book. It'll be highly technical. It's the book that you won't want to read. I mean, unless you're like wanting to get geeky about what and how are the science behind all of this. We're going to have research scientists. We're going to have all kinds of, it's going to be the book that people don't want to read. But if you read them, you're going to be like, holy shiz, I can see how the mental operating system can work. Mm. It's like you don't go to the bookstore and be like, I can't wait to read about how an operating system on a computer is compiled. Like, unless you're in IT or see computer science, you're not really geeking over that. Like, that's not what a real estate professional or Wall Street trader or a normal person is going to just go and be like, oh, yeah, that's what I want to read. No, that we're going to write something like that, which will be very special. It'll be fun. Anyway.
Or do it. That's
yes.
Awesome.
Yes. Till next time.
Till next time. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.